All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating metaphysical framework that comes from the Quran. It paints this incredible picture of the universe as a cosmic blueprint, a whole system that's built on truth, choice, and ultimately a kind of cosmic justice. So, let's get started. And our journey has to begin with this incredibly powerful verse. It's from a chapter called An-Nur, which actually means the light. Perfect, right? It sets the stage by defining the divine not just as some distant creator, but as the fundamental reality itself, the very light that illuminates all of existence. So this brings us to the central question we're going to be tackling. Is the Quran just a book of spiritual guidance? Or, as this framework suggests, does it contain something more? Something like a detailed blueprint for the very fabric of reality itself? That's exactly what we're here to explore. Okay, section 1, the blueprint. So if there really is a divine blueprint, what are its foundational principles? We've got to start at the very beginning of this cosmic architecture. The absolute starting point, the bedrock of everything, is this concept, al-haq, or the absolute truth. In this model, the universe doesn't kick off with a bang. It begins with a divine command, kun, which just means be. Think of it like an architect's plan suddenly becoming a building. That one command takes all of this pure, unformed potential and collapses it into the solid reality we all experience. So, from that single command, reality begins to unfold. But here's the thing, it's not a uniform, one-note reality. It's a universe that's actually defined by a really powerful elemental duality. At the absolute heart of this cosmic system are two opposing forces. On one side, you've got light, or nur. This represents all those divine attributes like knowledge, mercy, and the pure spirit, which is called the ruh. And on the other side of the coin, you have fire, or nar. This embodies concepts like judgment, wrath, and especially that prideful, changing self that we all have, known as the nafs. Now, this framework breaks reality down into three core elements, and this is where it gets really interesting. First, light is seen as knowledge from truth, kind of like the divine source code. It's paralleled with E=mc², because that famous equation literally connects the energy of light to the very substance of reality. Then you have water, which represents mercy, or rahma. It's seen as the very fabric of space-time that allows life and death to unfold. And finally, fire represents the force of judgment, and it's paralleled with F=ma, force equals mass times acceleration. It's the ultimate law of cause and effect. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is such a powerful analogy for understanding the difference between the spirit, the ruh, and the soul, the nefs. The ruh, the spirit, is like orderly plant cell division. It's generative, it multiplies truth and life. But the nefs, well, it's compared to chaotic nuclear fission. It's a destructive process that consumes and scatters its own essence. And it's all driven by pride. Okay, so you have this cosmic drama playing out. Where do we fit in? Well, that brings us to humanity's purpose, this unique and really profound test. So the human condition in this framework is that every one of us is a vessel where the light-bearing spirit and the fire-bound soul are paired together. And the language used to describe this is wild. It's described as a form of quantum entanglement, where two particles become linked, and the fate of one is instantly tied to the other, no matter the distance. Our life, then, is the test that determines the final outcome of this entanglement. And it all comes down to our choices. And that journey of choice, it has a clear path toward the light. It's a process of purification. This model uses prophets as archetypes for each stage. It starts with the sacrifice of the ego, embodied by Yahya. Then comes the constant struggle of submission, represented by Musa. After that, you have ascension and spiritual insight, seen in Isa. And finally, the perfect synthesis of all of it is embodied by the Prophet Muhammad. But this journey isn't just a straight line. The framework uses a fascinating shape to show that our destiny is, in a way, totally inescapable. And that brings us to the Mobius strip. I just love this visual. The soul's journey is a Mobius strip. That loop with only one side. If you're walking on it, you'd eventually travel the entire surface and end up right back where you started. In this analogy, every soul is on this cosmic loop, and the journey will inevitably lead back to its essential origin, which is either light or fire. There's no other destination. So on this inescapable loop, there is a critical crossroads, and this is the moment where human choice becomes everything. The act of repentance, or toba,
is what dissolves that pride and realigns the soul with its light-based origin. But the choice of pride, or kibr, well, that sends the soul on the downward trajectory toward its fire-based nature.
And what's really interesting is there are two key forces influencing this journey. First is ransom, or fidya. This is a divine act of mercy, an intervention that preserves that spark of truth inside us, keeping it from collapsing completely. The second force is repentance, or taba. And that's our part. That's the human act of submission that reverses spiritual decay and allows the soul to ascend toward the light. Now, all of this leads to what might be the framework's most provocative claim, that the Quran is more than just a spiritual guide. It's presented as a kind of quantum textbook, describing the nature of reality in ways that modern physics is only now beginning to understand. And check out some of these examples. The story of the sleepers in the cave, frozen in time for centuries, is compared to the quantum Zeno effect, a real phenomenon where just observing a particle can stop it from changing. Then there's the story of a man dead for 100 years whose food stayed fresh. That's linked to Einstein's relativity, where time can flow differently for different observers. And finally, the Quran's timeless message is compared to a photon, a particle of light which, from its own perspective, experiences no time at all as it travels. So, what's the big takeaway here? This framework paints a picture of a universe built on this elegant and just system. Existence is a constant battle between truth and pride. Guidance is delivered through a divine circuit of prophets, and our choices directly determine our ultimate state, because in the end, everything has to return to its fundamental essence. Light returns to light, and fire returns to fire. So this framework really leaves us with a profound personal question. If life is a test, and our journey is set on this cosmic loop, the only thing that truly matters is our choice. So which melody is your soul following on its journey back to the source? The one leading to light, or the one descending into fire?